Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog and to another Premier League match review. As once again, VAR has come to Tottenham's rescue at the Manchester City Stadium. It was a completely one-sided game that we just watched at the Etihad. But at the end of the day, we've come out with a point. And while obviously we're a team who are looking to want to win trophies, we want to win every game that we possibly can. But I think a point from what we just watched there for 90 minutes is an unbelievable result for us, and it was just done in the typical Tottenham way, really, where we just made it as hard as possible for ourselves. And it seemed that yet again, in the last minute, Man City had done it to us. They'd beaten us at the Etihad. But after, to be honest, what we didn't really realise was a VAR review. That's kind of something they've wanted to bring into the system this season. We didn't really know there was a review going on. And all of a sudden, in the midst of the celebrations, Martin Tyler says, "Oh, hold on a minute." And then it goes to Michael Oliver in the box pointing at his arm. And look, I think it was a harsh decision. But under the new rules that have been brought in now, it was a free out. The goal shouldn't have stood, because when it came off Otamendi, you see Skip and Laporte were fighting with each other, and it just deflected off Laporte's elbow, which is what put it into the Gabriel Jesus' path. And City will feel very aggrieved about it. And they also, Guardiola went on about that penalty in the first half as well. I mean, you can understand that why City wouldn't be too happy with the decisions that have gone against them, but at the end of the day, by the book, the referee, Michael Oliver, on the day, he got most of them right, but the one that really mattered, I think, was Graham Scott in the VAR studio. He got it right, and it's, as I said, an amazing point for us. And there are some other good points that we saw. I thought Kyle Walker-Peters did pretty good in the grand scheme of things, but we also got to see Giovanni Lo Celso making his first appearance for Tottenham in the Premier League. And I mean, he didn't have any impact at all. He didn't do anything. But it was great to see our massive signing from the summer coming on and making his debut. And hopefully now we might get to see him from the start against Newcastle next week, who knows. But look, as I said, the big thing is we have got that point. So for those of you now who are watching on the live stream replay, I have a Facebook group and a fantasy football league that I'm running. All the details you need for them will be down in the description. There'll be links and codes and everything like that down there. So make sure to go down and check that out. If you do want more content like this, like these interactive live streams, but also just regular videos on the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below and click that notification bell as well, because I do a lot of these interactive live streams after matches. And just seeing now the first few people coming into the group here. Make sure to get your questions and comments in the live chat, and I'll go through as many of them as I can. First I'm going to talk about kind of what we saw in that game, and it was a quite bizarre game really, because I mean, City, as I said, dominated. They completely dominated. I think at half time they had something like 17 shots to our 1, but the stat that mattered was that it was 1-1, and we were very lucky to come out of that first half with anything, because obviously City took the lead, and with all the talk of the right back position for us during the week, it was the other side that was really causing us problems, and that's where both of City's goals came from. That first one, a good bit of link-up play down there, and an exceptional ball from Kevin De Bruyne into the back post. And you can maybe look at Kyle Walker-Peters and say, perhaps he should have been there, he should have been tracking that run from Raheem Sterling, and maybe it wasn't a very good goal to concede, but I thought it was a masterstroke from Kevin De Bruyne and Sterling, just the way he's developed his game now. He was never going to miss that opportunity. So I don't think we can look too much at that goal as maybe a defensive error or anything. And then they were only ahead for 4 minutes the first time. The goal that took us back into it, it was a moment of genius from Eric Lamela, but it was really aided by a rare mistake from Ederson, because you could see it in a few of those replays. I didn't really spot it in real time, but he was way out of position. He was stood right over on that left post, and it really opened up the goal for Eric Lamela. But the fact that he, not only did he see it, but he managed so quickly to get himself into that position to get the shot off, and he executed it so perfectly. It was a really good goal from him. And there was a lot of people saying midweek that he shouldn't be starting. We should see Lo Celso get a debut. And stuff like that, but look, he was on the pitch to do. He did what he was on the pitch to do. It was a really good goal, and it did for 5 or 10 minutes. It changed the game a bit. We were a lot quicker in possession. We were City were still pressing, but it wasn't as effective. And we did look like maybe we could have come back into the game, but just the way City were playing, they were absolutely outstanding today. It was genuinely a ridiculously good performance from Man City. I see Ron here saying, don't know how to react to that. It was a really bad performance, but a great result. But that's what we need. That away to Man City on paper is the toughest game of the season. They won the league last year. We're playing away for them. Second game of the season. Toughest game of the season. And look, the performance wasn't great, but ultimately we did what we had to do. We were beaten twice by 2 really good balls from Kevin De Bruyne. You could argue Sanchez should have done better. on the first one, and Alderweireld might have been a bit stronger against Aguero. But look, we've come out of that with a point, and I mean, 2 games in, we're level on points at Man City. I know we're 2 behind Liverpool now, but and George saying how much do I love deja vu? It was really strange. Like it was a massive moment against Man City last year, and it's not something you see very often. Whereas a late goal, meaning so much meaning, was ruled out, and the fact there that it happened again. And I said in my preview, that was a ridiculous game we saw in the Champions League, that we wouldn't see anything like it again. But you know, we kind of come close to it. It was a really good ending. And when that ball came into the box, you could see it was kind of dropping around a bit. But personally, I don't know if anyone else felt like that, but from when we got the equaliser, Lucas, again, I'll get onto that in a second, it was, you know, when he got that equaliser, it always had that feeling that City would go on and score the late winner, like that Champions League game did. It just always has that feeling for me, in those games against Man City, that no matter how good we do, no matter what the score is, it always feels like they will go on and win it at the end. And it felt like it had happened last April or May or March, and it felt like it happened again today. But VAR has come to our rescue. Now, going on to that second goal that Man City scored, again, it was good play from City down that right hand side, and I think while our attention was on that right back spot for us with Kyle Walker-Peters or Serge Aurier, it seemed like Man City kind of took advantage of that and threw a bit of a curveball, and they attacked us down the other side. And it was that second goal where they had the 3 players down there. I think it was Gundogan, Walker and De Bruyne, who were just really, they were kind of like overflowing that area of the pitch. And Rose was there, and at times he did have Sissoko and Dembele coming over to help him out, but in that moment they just weren't there. And it was a good ball down the channel to Kevin De Bruyne, and he whipped it in really well. It was a great cross from De Bruyne, but I think the Sky commentators pointed out that Davinson Sanchez's position left a lot to be desired, and he was beaten way too easily on the goal side by the ball. And Alderweireld in that tussle with Aguero, it was very clever from Aguero, the way he pushed off Alderweireld, which not only set Alderweireld back, but it gave him an extra boost, and he got there. And it was a very clever finish, but it was a great goal, but it could have been prevented from our point of view. And another thing they didn't really point out on during the match was Hugo Lloris. He just stood there. He was stood with his hand on the post, and he didn't make any attempt to save the ball. And I know in that situation you can't expect him to react to it, but what he should be doing is, you know, spreading himself and making himself as big as possible and hoping that the ball hits him. So I think he might have done a bit better in that game. And I see Kai here asking prediction for the next game. I'm going to get onto that a bit later in the video. But for now, I want to hear your opinions about that match. And Jay Spurs again saying the performance was bad, but we got the win. And again, that's all that we can really ask for in a game like this. The lineup did surprise me. It really did surprise me. Man City's, as expected, Bernardo Silva came back in, Aguero came back in, Sterling, De Bruyne, Rodri, really, really strong starting 11. But I was expecting us to go back to that 4-2-3-1, because we know how much the diamond hurt us in that first half against Aston Villa. And we even know that Mauricio Pochettino said it after the game, that it was his fault that did happen, that it was such a poor half. And he said it was because of the formation, or the tactics. Then in that second half, it was a 4-2-3-1 that we played, and a 4-4-2 for a bit, and it worked a lot better. So I was really surprised to see that diamond back in midfield. And I see Jay Spurs asking why was Sissoko on the wing, but I think it's just such a narrow formation that people get dragged out of position, because ultimately they're saying he plays as a right mid. Ultimately he was supposed to be almost in a right central midfield role, but because he was being dragged out to help Kyle Walker-Peters with Sterling and Zinchenko flowing down that side, he just got dragged out too much, and he should have been a right centre mid. And it's just the way that we play, and mainly with the way Man City plays, their width was exceptional today. I think that narrow formation just wasn't what we needed in that fixture. Pancake99 saying my heart couldn't handle the last 10 minutes. It was absolutely nerve-wracking, because as I said, it just always felt like City were going to get that winner. It felt like they were just going to, like, they didn't really add to their intensity. They played patiently as they did throughout the game, and it's just, that's the way they do it, and the way they did get the goal, although it was ruled out. And Jordan Cartwright saying hello from Washington DC. Jay Spurs, Ericsson was missing. Yeah, he wasn't at his best today. But to be honest, none of our attacking players were. Like Kane in that first half, I think he had 6 touches altogether in the entire first half. And the fact that last time I checked, it was only the 2 shots that we had. I don't think we had anything more than that. It's fair to say all of our attackers were missing. And it was ultimately that masterstroke from Pochettino, bringing on Lucas. You never expect to bring on a player like that from a corner, because usually Harry Winks is important to us in that situation, where he'd be kind of the man sitting back, and if City were going to get us in the counter-attack, he'd be the man there breaking it up. But it was, in the end, a genius move, and Lucas Moura, the smallest player on the pitch, to go out and to win that header, and it was a very good header as well, coming across Kyle Walker and just glancing it past Ederson. And we had 3 shots in the entire game, 2 goals. City had 30 shots with 10 on target. It's kind of like one of those FIFA games you play or you have two shots, the other team has two shots, they beat you 2-1 when you've 30-40 shots. It was a game that will definitely upset City, and VAR, even though they got the decisions right, I think City will be very aggrieved with what has happened. George saying Lucas Moura, what a player. And I was very shocked that he wasn't in the starting 11, and I think a lot of people were disappointed with that as well. But it was him coming off the bench who made the impact, and also Lo Celso coming off the bench. It was great to see, but I don't even think he touched the ball. He had a few, he's closing down a bit, and he almost blocked that goal that Jesus scored that was ultimately ruled out, but he didn't have any effect. But I'm not going to give out about that. I wouldn't expect him to have. It was just good to get him on, just to get him back on the pitch, or get him on the pitch to get him to have his debut. Jordan saying different game with Delhi and Sun, which is a great point. I can't imagine it would have been anything like that with Delhi and Sun in the team. I think the formation would have been a bit different as well, which, look, if we had started with that 4-2-3-1, we could have been beaten 4 or 5-0, because that diamond did add a bit of solidity in the back, but it really, really restricted us when we were getting forward. So I think if those two were fit, and even Juan Foyth as well, who would probably be our starting right back, I think it would have made a lot of a difference, and we may not have won the game. Jay Spurs saying great result away from home. It absolutely is. I mean, as I said, the toughest game of the season on paper, playing away to the champions, and I mean, we've gone out and got a point. Thomas Gibbons here saying, I think you were lucky to get a point, Matt, but VAR saved you again. And sure, there's an element of luck about it. I mean, when they have 10 times the amount of shots that we do with 5 times the amount on target, there's always going to be an element of luck about it. And again, the Sky commentators pointed it out. Any team that has gone and beaten City in the last few years, you look at last season, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Newcastle with Thomas's team, they did go out and beat them. There's going to be an element of luck when you're beating a team with that quality, and it was luck that we deserved, because we were decent at the back. I mean, it wasn't our best defensive performance, but look, VAR, it saved us, but we were in the position to be saved, because that game easily could have been out of sight. It easily could have been 3-4-5-1 before we even got back into it. Jay Spurs saying, we're also lucky Lamela fouled Rodri in the box, put his hand on his neck, it's going to cause controversy. It was a very, very sloppy decision from Lamela, and I think it was one of those, it comes back to the VAR only been able to overturn the decision if it was a clear and obvious error, and I think had Michael Oliver given that penalty, VAR wouldn't have overturned it, because it was very, very clumsy, and it easily could have been given, but the fact that it wasn't means VAR couldn't overturn it. But I do think that if that had been given, it would have been kept that way, I suppose. Pancake99 saying, we didn't deserve it, but I will take that considering we didn't have Son, Ali Vertonghen, and that's very true. I think we did deserve it. We were in that position to get the point. We really took our chances, 2 shots on target, and they were both taken. And that Lamela one wasn't even a chance. It was just a moment of genius to spot Ederson out of position and to be able to pick out that bottom corner. But no, I wouldn't agree that we don't deserve it. I mean, any point you get in a game of football, you deserve, especially when it is VAR. There is that element of fairness to it. It wasn't that the goal was wrongly ruled out. It was given but correctly ruled out in the end. Thomas Gibbons saying, Matt, I think Serge Aurier should have started instead of Kyle Walker-Peters. And if Son and Lucas was in the game, they would have given Man City defenders a real scare, and Vertonghen should have replaced Sanchez. Now that was a debate we were having during the week between Serge Aurier and Kyle Walker-Peters. But I think Pochettino got it right. I think Walker-Peters had a good game. There was a lot in that first 10-15 minutes where he was very, very narrow. But again, I think that comes back to the formation. And Raheem Sterling was really hugging the sideline, and he was getting a lot of possession. And there were a few times he was beaten for pace. But I think all in all, Sterling did get that one goal, but it was a great run. It was a great cross. I don't think we can blame Kyle Walker-Peters for anything that did happen. Son and Lucas, it would have given Man City a real problem, but look, as Jordan pointed out a second ago, if Delhi and Son were there, it would have been a completely different game, and we mightn't have seen the same result. I don't think anything would have helped us go on to win that game, but I think City could have ran away with it. If we did have the likes of Ali and Son, we might have been offering more in the final third and more going forward, which would have left us exposed at the back. So I think ultimately it may have worked out in our favour that those players weren't there, and that we did have a decent side considering the players we had missing. And Vertonghen, apparently he just he wasn't fit. He's not fit enough yet after pre-season. Elite Trio Squad saying hello Tottenham Sky Sport, welcome to the stream. Jay Spurs saying, do you think Ndombele was too defensive in this game? He didn't dribble out a lot. I just don't think there was any space for him to dribble into, because City's high press from the first whistle to the last whistle, they were right on top of us, and the majority of that possession that we had, I think we only had about 40% throughout the entire game, 44%. The majority of the possession that we did have was back in our own half, and I don't think there was any there was any space for him to dribble into. Even the attacking players that were there, they couldn't find spaces to get the pass into them, and we just really struggled to get out for the majority of that game. And I see Jordan as well saying, I think Ndombele will get better in time. The pace is different according to him, and it's a completely different league. It's almost a different sport, the Premier League and the French League, League One. And Pochettino has even said that in that first game against Villa. He said Ndombele was playing at 30%, 40% at most. So for him to make that step up and to be the best that he can be, it's going to take a long time. And there were a few moments from him today. We saw a bit of I can't think of the word, but he wasn't as good in possession as we would expect from him. But it was a great performance all in all from the team, and I think he had a lot of defensive solidity, because he is better than Winks and Sissoko on the defensive side of things. But yeah, I think he did well, and he will only get better. Thomas Gibbons saying, I think Poch is so happy that he can use Son to replace Lamela now. Pancake99 saying, Kyle Walker-Peters can learn from this toughest game he'll face this season. And it's the toughest game he's played in his career so far. I know we played Barcelona in the Champions League last year, but that was a weekend Barcelona's like, because they'd already finished top of the group, went into that game, so they played a few of their fringe players. But it was a massive test for him, and did he win out against Sterling? I don't know if you can say that he did, but I don't think we can say that he lost it either. Because again, I know Sterling got that goal, but I don't think Walker-Peters would have had would he have had the chance to stop that. So look, I think it was a great game for Walker-Peters. There was a few moments where he looked really good in possession. He looked strong. He looked quick. So a very encouraging performance from him, but I wouldn't say it was an exceptional performance or anything like that. Jay Spurs saying, we always have to be the first team to concede and come back. It gets tiring. And that was really an element of our season last year. And it seems to have carried on into this year. We concede too early. It's the first 15 minutes that seems to kill us. Now, I know we have the most... we've won the most amount of games coming from behind at half-time in Premier League history. Against Aston Villa last week was our 37th time doing that, which is a very impressive record. But you'd rather kill the game off before that. You don't want the nerve-wracking close to a game when we're looking to turn it around. But I think it's great that we have seen in the first two games of the season that the fitness is there, that they are able to go to the last whistle. Usually it takes teams a few weeks, a few months to get into that swing of things for the season. But we've seen that now right from the start, that there is that element of fitness. And it's the way Poch likes to do things, and it really seems to work. Now, before I go on any further, if you are enjoying this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. So please give it a thumbs up if you are enjoying. William Brindley saying, why doesn't Poch start Lucas? He's one of, if not the best players we have. I think it's just the way he was trying to approach this game today. And I mean, the fact that Lucas came off the bench in the 56th minute and scored straight away, it kind of proves Pochettino's decision mightn't have been right at the start of the game, but ultimately it worked out the best for us. He came off the bench and scored the goal. And I think in these big games, he's very good as an impact player, because he has that pace. And there was nothing for us, there was no way for us to get out for the majority of it. Like when that ball was played up high, Kane was up there on his own, and he doesn't have the pace to race from side to side wherever the ball goes and to chase defenders down. So unless that ball was put right on top of his head, it was coming straight back at us. So having Lucas up there, and with Lamela for the majority of it, when we did get the ball out, you could have them chasing it, and then when City do eventually get possession, you have Lucas and Lamela closing them down. So I think it worked out in the end that Lucas wasn't starting. But again, it's as well the formation that we were playing, it didn't really suit him the best, and one of them had to miss out. And I don't think you can give out that Lamela played, because I mean, he scored that goal, and Eriksen, he's just the kind of player you need in that sort of game. And I know he didn't have a big impact, but I think the formation was wrong in my opinion at the start of the game. But given the formation that he picked, I think he chose the right personnel for it. Craig Bowler saying Ndombele needs to settle in. And Thomas as well saying, you guys need to give Ndombele time to adjust. Bernardo Silva didn't make his breakthrough in the first season. He made his breakthrough in the second season, which is a great point. And Bernardo Silva, who went on to be City's Player of the Year last year, he really took his time getting into it. And Ndombele, he's looked good so far, but as Pochettino said, he's playing at most 40% right now. We really need to give him time to adjust to the league. And the fact that we are seeing these encouraging performances already, it shows that we may potentially have a really, really good player in him. And it was actually only today that it really hit me. The two players that we've signed, Ndombele is 22 and Lo Celso is 23. They're, for the amount of money that we paid for them and the quality that they have, they seem a lot older than that. But it's two amazing signings, and they're both on 6-year deals, essentially with Ndombele 5 years with an option for a sixth, and Lo Celso on an initial loan and then a 5-year deal. So they're really, really good signings, but we do need to give them time to adjust. William saying, I was working and missed the game, and I know Lo Celso came on late. Did he play any good or look decent? I know it's not much time, but did he look decent? I don't think he touched the ball. It was the 86th minute when he came on for Lamela. I don't think he did touch the ball, but he seemed to be playing out in the right mid position, which kind of shows it was just a way to try and see the game through. Poch wasn't expecting anything from him in the attacking side of things, but he looked. I mean, he was closing down. He was trying to put in tackles and stuff. There was no chance for him to make an impact. He came close to blocking the goal that was eventually disallowed, but yeah, there's no way that you can say anything about him. Jay Spurs saying Lucas Moore has such high work rate. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's up there with the best in the Premier League. Look at the likes of Shane Long when he was at his peak, chased down every single ball, no matter where he was playing, right into the last minute. Lucas Moore is the same. Thomas saying thoughts on Ericsson. He didn't look very interested. It's not that he didn't look interested. It's just, as I said, those attacking players, they had no space, they had no time, they barely even had the ball, to be honest. And it was City just made it so difficult for us. And the fact that we managed to come out of that with a point, Anna, yeah, the game is finished. The fact that we came out of that with a point is just ridiculous. I mean, it's as someone said a while ago, it was a very poor performance, everything considered. But look, we've gone to Man City and we've gotten a point. There's not really much more you can ask for from that. I don't think a win was ever on the cards, and I know a lot of people agreed with that, but yeah. Craig saying, and Dembele would be given time. We've not got the centre of the park sorted out yet, so I think he'll partner Lo Celso eventually. I disagree with that. I do think we have the centre of the park sorted out, and I do think Lo Celso has been brought in as more of an attacking player. I was a bit disappointed when he made that sub, taking off Harry Winks. I said Lucas probably should have come on at half time, and it was only a matter of time before he did come on, but I was expecting him to take off Sissoko, so I was surprised when Winks came off, and I was a bit aggrieved with the substitution. But look, I mean, Lucas went on and scored with his first touch of the game. I knew he should have come on, but I thought it was a bit surprising that Winks came off. And that's the second game now that he has come off, and the player that's replaced him has changed the game. So I'd be interested to see where Winks really stands at the moment. But I do think we have the midfield sorted out. I wouldn't say there's much investment to go into that. And as you say, Giovanni Lo Celso, he can play in that position, but I feel like Pochettino has brought him in as a more attacking player because that's where he's the biggest threat. That's where he's at his best. And I saw an article or a post from some La Liga expert, and he was saying that Lo Celso can actually also play in the striker position. He played there a few times for Betis last season. I'm not sure what his record there was, but he can play in the striker position as well. So, I mean, we now have a lot of backup up front with Lucas, Son, Lo Celso, and probably Troy Parrott, who, if you didn't see, scored a fantastic goal against Man City's under-23s at the Tottenham Stadium last night. He scored two. I think Paris Magoma got the other one. But Troy Parrott, fantastic goal. He was just inside the box and he twisted it onto his left foot and curled it into the top corner. It was a brilliant goal. And I think it is only a matter of time this season before we see him in the first team. Thomas saying we've got Ali, Son and Sessegnon to come back. There's Ali, Son, Sessegnon and Juan Foyth as well who are still yet to come back for this season. If you'd offered me that result this morning, I'd have bit your hand off. Jordan saying we don't win this game without Ericsson. That's an interesting point. I'm not sure where you're coming from with that, but as I said, I think it is those little decisions that were made. Everything has come together to make this happen, and I think any little difference, if Lucas had started instead of Ericsson, it would have been a completely different dynamic up front, and we mightn't have gotten where we did get. But I suppose every player did ultimately affect that. Craig saying you rate Winks, though I don't think he's a defensive midfielder at all. I really do. I really highly rate Winks. I think he's one of our best players last season. Definitely our best player in that Champions League final. I really like him, and I think it's the fact that when he gets the ball, he doesn't get an assist, he doesn't get a goal. He does the kind of dirty work in the middle of the park, and that's why I think he doesn't get recognised. But I really feel as though he's one of our best players, and you have to remember he hasn't had too much experience in the first team. He's only been in there for 2 or 3 years, and a lot of that was as a fringe player. So I think they're really, and Jace was saying Winks just keeps the ball moving, mainly distribution, but that's so important and controls possession. He's really important in that position in that midfield, and today wasn't the type of game that he could affect because we didn't have sustained attacks where he could transition between those different phases of play. It was more of a defensive thing for him, and that's not where he's at his best. I'd say he's a holding midfielder, more of a defensive midfielder. I know they're very different positions, but you kind of expect different things from them. But yeah, I really rate him. Thomas saying, any thoughts? Do you think you may be challenging for the title if you have a fully fit squad and also keep Ericsson? Unfortunately, I don't think we're at that position yet. I don't think we can say we'll be up there with City in May. And I know we've just gone toe to toe with them and gotten a point away to them, but you can see the gulp in class between the two teams. The quality they have is just sensational, and it's also the depth in their team. Like, you look at their bench today. I mean, they were starting a full strength 11. They had Gabriel Jesus, Riyad Mahrez, David Silva, Phil Foden, Claudio Bravo, all these unbelievable players on the bench. So I think they just have it more consistently. I really think I think they have it. I think we'll be around the same as Liverpool this season, but I don't think we'll challenge for the league. Craig is saying Lo Celso is good box to box midfielder, great carrier of the ball, excellent dribbler. I agree. It's about Lo Celso. Yeah, I agree. He can do that, but I think he has been brought in as a more attacking player, to be honest. Craig saying you make Winks sound like Savvy, but that is someone that Pochettino has compared him to in the past. Pochettino has said it was after we played. I think that Cypriot team we had in the Champions League last year, the year before. It was after the game Pochettino said he's the perfect midfielder, and he compared him to the likes of Andres Iniesta and Xavi Hernandez, who are probably the best midfielders that have ever played the game, kind of best deep midfielders, and he compared them to them, and he does have similar attributes. Obviously, I'm never going to say he's at the same level as them, but he does have similar attributes. I think he does play the same kind of way, and he has the same impact on the team as they do. Thomas saying, what would be your lineup if you had a fully fit squad? Well, fully fit, probably Lloris in goal, Rose and Foyth in the full back positions, which I think is something we need to address next year, that right back position. Yada and Toby in the middle, but then it depends. It seems like Pochettino is opting for that 4-1-2-1-2 formation this season. So if that was the case, if I did have to go for that, I would say the same three that we saw in the midfield today. Winks at the base with Ndambele and Sissoko either side of them. And then I know maybe Ericsson behind Kane and Lucas, but then you see you're missing out on Son, you're missing Lo Celso, you're missing Ali, which is why I think that 4-2-3-1 could be better for us, because we can get more of those attacking players in. It's a really difficult question, but it's a good headache to have, that we don't really know what our strongest 11 is, because there are so many different players that you can't put in there. Craig saying Poch compared Edwards to Messi though, which is true, and Poch said he does regret that. It's not something it's something he wished he hadn't done, and it's something that he will never do again. But I think Edwards did have a lot of potential, but unfortunately it hasn't worked out for him. But Winks has come a lot further than Edwards ever did. I mean, you never saw Edwards in the first team, and Winks is just probably the most underrated player in our team. And if he was someone that we'd signed for 40 or 50 million in the transfer window, and he came out with the same performances that he has been, I think people would rate him a lot more. Jay Spurs saying Foyth has got no pace though. Kingsley Coman rinsed him in the Bayern game. He doesn't have a lot of pace, but first of all, he's not a right back yet. He hasn't really had that. He hasn't had the experience there. But Kyle Walker-Peters, he was a bit better today than I was expecting from him. That I kind of rated him. I think a bit more of him now, but I still feel like Foyth is just a better option. And I know it's going to be a massive question because Serge Aurier is also there, but for me it would be Foyth. And I understand if you do think pace is more important, but I do feel as though Foyth is our best option. Kyle King saying, I wonder will Lo Celso play or where Lo Celso will play, maybe in Ali's place. Again, I've been saying this. I think we're not going to see certain players who are in the team every single week, apart from the obvious, Harry Kane, Lloris, the Belgian centre backs the majority of the time. But I feel like there will be a lot of rotation there because we're going to have such a hectic calendar this year with the Premier League, the Champions League, and hopefully 2 domestic cup runs. So we will see a lot of rotation in there. But I do think Lo Celso will be utilised mainly as an attacking player. Noam saying that was incredible. Bradley Coombs saying it's been a really good start to the season, 4 points, and this is without a fully fit team, and that's so true. We've essentially been missing Lo Celso. He only played a few minutes today. We've been without Jan Vertonghen, Dele Alli, Heung-min Son, Juan Foyth, Eric Dyer, Serge Aurier. We're missing a lot of players. This is a brilliant start to the season, and if you'd said it before the first game of the season that we'd have 4 points after 2 games, you would have taken it without a shadow of a doubt. And it's great that we have now gotten that game out of the way so early in the season, and we've gotten something out of it. But there are still many more tough games to come, and we still have a long way to go. But I feel like this has kind of proven to us that we are now at a level where it should be easy to get into the top 4, and maybe in the next few years trying to push on to a bit more. Craig saying, I'd go with a back 3 or fullbacks are less of a liability further up the field, which is a good point. Thomas saying, City had die-hard fans in League 2. Now they have an artificial pitch and glory hunters. Their stadium isn't rocking like Anfield or Old Trafford. Jay Spurs saying, Davinson Sanchez has the athletic ability to be a great centre-back, but never safe with him. He does. He's so quick. He's so strong. He's powerful. He's good in the air. He can tackle. He can pass it. But he just seems to be a bit rash. And we noticed that first goal today, his positioning was really poor. Or the second goal today. He probably should have cut out that cross, but he learned from it. There was another similar instance with, I think it was Kyle Walker putting in a very similar cross in the second half, and Sanchez was there, he dealt with it, he got it out. Remember, he's still only young. He's still only 22 or 23, Davinson Sanchez, and that's something a lot of people forget very easily, because it just feels like he's been around for a lot longer, and he seems like he's a lot older than that. He's only 23 years of age, so I think he has a lot of improvement to do. And Craig's saying Sanchez is still ever so young for a centre back. Jay Spurs saying he's got a mistake in him. Noam saying, what do you think of Sanchez today? Who gets to start in your opinion, Jan or Sanchez against the Magpies? I would have said today Jan Vertonghen. I did say in my match preview that I thought it would be Jan Vertonghen, but it's just whatever's going on in training. Sanchez seems to be showing a bit more for Pochettino to pick him in the starting 11. But between the two players, simply for how good they are, I would pick Jan Vertonghen, because him and Toby Alderweireld, nothing comes even close to that partnership between them. And I would say Jan Vertonghen is overall a better player than Sanchez. But if Pochettino is seeing in training that Sanchez is, if he's fitter, if he's better, if he's just offering more, if he's more in the mood, whatever it is, even if it is that contract situation, I think I would go with whatever Pochettino wants. And at the moment, that seems to be Davinson Sanchez. Tom's Gibbon saying, so City is a kind of club which has a lot of plastic fans. Jay Spurs, is it weird that we only have one left-footed centre-back in Jan Vertonghen? I wouldn't say so. I mean, you need one to play on that side of the defence if he can. And I think City are the same. They only have Aymeric Laporte, who's left-footed. Liverpool don't have any. Matip, Van Dijk, Gomez, they're all right-footed. United is the same. Maguire, Lindelof, Smalling, Jones. The majority of players seem to be right-footed. And it's mainly left-sided players like the left-backs, left-wings that are left-footed. But yeah, it's not strange to not have many left-footed centre-backs. Bradley saying, for me, even when we get Alisson and Lo Celso fit, Lucas Moura has to be in the first 11 every week now. And at the moment you would say that, but he showed it a bit last year. He started last season really well. He got that couple at Manchester United. He scored against Fulham and a few more goals, but he was gone for so many months. We didn't really see anything from him, and it wasn't until late out in that Champions League run when we did really see him. So he's not the most consistent player in the world, but in the same way Dele Alli isn't. But I think, again, as I've said, we're going to see a lot of rotation. I think we're going to see one main player in any of the midfield positions. Craig is saying, I don't think Vertonghen is fit. He wasn't playing very well in pre-season. 13th Monkey saying, City spent 7 years outside of the Premier League, relegated 3 times, money, money, money. Gamertail saying, Super Tottenham signed a 6-month extension with VAR, so they pretty much won everything. And it's just crazy that it has been in almost the exact same way. I mean, we saw it in the Champions League last year with the teams going wild over at the corner flag, Pep Guardiola sprinting down to join them. And then today we saw Aguero shouting at Guardiola when he came off and the goal went in. He went out, he was hugging him, he was apologising, and Jesus over with his arrogant wave to the crowd. And it was just, it was so great to see. Not only that we did get the point, but for them, they went so wild in the celebrations again, and for the exact same thing to happen to them, for it to be taken off them so quickly, it's great to see. And even if it wasn't against Tottenham, for a team to, go and be so confident, be so happy they've won the game, and even Martin Tyler said it for sure, they've got the 3 points now, for it to be taken off them, it's just hilarious. No, I'm saying Llorente hasn't been signed yet as a free agent. What do you think about re-signing him as a backup? He stepped up last season and we can only sign free agents now. I would love to see him back at the club. I would absolutely love him to join again. I said it throughout the season, and even when the list of released players was sent to the Premier League, Michel Vorm was on it as well, but there was Vorm saying goodbye on social media, and Tottenham as well saying goodbye to him, but there was never any official confirmation, I suppose, from Fernando Llorente or the club about him leaving. So I always felt as though that option was still there for him to come back. And of course we heard that we did offer him a new contract. He didn't accept it, but I don't know if he's even rejected it yet. I would absolutely love to see him come back in, even as an impact player, coming off the bench, or if Kane's injured, just having a big target man up there who'd be great. But I think if he did stay for another year and then potentially moved on into a coaching role in the club afterwards, that could be absolutely amazing for us, with the likes of Troy Parrott coming through the academy, the way he can learn from Fernando Llorente. But also I think Harry Kane could learn a lot from him, because don't forget, Llorente has won so much. He's won so much in Italy, he's won the World Cup, he's won the Euros, he's won a lot, and I think he could teach Harry Kane and Troy Parrott quite a bit. So if he did bring him in, I think ultimately the best influence he could have would be in the long term as a coach. But I do think we will see him back at the club one day. Thomas saying, I would probably go Lloris, Aurier, Vertonghen, Sanchez, Rose, Winston, Dombele, Son, Eriksen, Lucas Kane from a fully fit squad. And that's a really, really good squad, but again, will it be that formation? Will those players be there? There's so many questions that still have to be asked. Craig saying it's not so much about VAR, it's more about the new rule about an accidental handball setting up a goal isn't allowed. I think it's fair enough, and that's true. It's that new rule that has won it for us, I suppose. The new rule basically is that any handball, if it's accidental or intentional, if it leads to a goal or if it stops a goal, it will be penalised. And that's what happened today. It was again with Laporte kind of tussling with Skip. He was trying to push Skip away, and as he's pulling his arm back in, it deflected off his elbow, which is what took it away from Ndombele and into Jesus, who took the touch and scored. So it was that new rule. Last year, I don't know if it would have been ruled out, but I think we would have been very, very hard done by if we had lost the game by that goal last year. And I know without VAR, regardless of that rule, it would have stood. But yeah, I think it would have been a really harsh goal, regardless of that handball rule change. Bradley saying, where does Ryan Sessegnon fit into this team when he's fit again? And Thomas saying maybe Sessegnon can play left back or right back. When we were first linked with him and we heard that Rose was left out of the squad for the Asia Tour, I thought he would be coming in as a left back, but I think because we've now kept Rose and Davis has signed that new contract, I think Sessegnon has been brought to play in a more attacking role, but I think that versatility that he offers will also be important so that he can drop back to left back if he needs to. I absolutely wouldn't play him in right back because I just don't think it wouldn't be comfortable for a left-footed player playing on the right, because with our fullbacks having such an attacking influence, he wouldn't be able to put crosses into the box because he'd have to cut back onto his left foot, and then all of a sudden the strikers have made the run, they're all offside, the defence can reset and there's someone closing him down, and defensively it's just really awkward if you're trying to show a player down the line and you're trying to tackle with your weak foot. There's just too many problems caused, so I wouldn't play him in right back. Kyle saying, if you think you can't go up for a ball and get away with it striking your hand, I'm not sure what you're saying there. J-Spur saying with Sessegnon he can play in left wing then drop to a left back, he's only 19, which mainly in that attacking position, but he does offer a lot more than just that. It's kind of similar why we have Eric Dyer still at the club, because he can play in all those different positions, and with the new signings we made, Lo Celso can also do that. So it does seem that Pochettino does kind of appreciate that versatility in a player. Now, I saw Kai asking about this a while ago. Looking ahead to the game next week against Newcastle, Newcastle have had a very, very poor start. They're a bit unlucky to lose to Arsenal last week. I don't think that was a game they deserved to lose, but look, they were beaten in the end. And today against Norwich, I didn't get to see the game, but I mean, Timo Pukki scoring a hat-trick. He's had a fantastic start to the Premier League, but really, really worrying for Newcastle. They have lost 3-1 to a promoted team, and even though they did put a bit of money into the squad this season, I think they're in a very, very dangerous position, and Steve Bruce has a lot of work to do there, and I don't know if he will be able to do it. I'm going to say now I think it will be a comfortable win against Newcastle next week, but again, a lot can change. We're going to have Son back. We could potentially have Dele Alli back, and Thomas Gibbons saying Timo Pukki's top scorer in the league. He's joined now with Raheem Sterling, both have 4 goals, which is absolutely sensational. And then Ashley Barnes is only just behind them. He scored 3 after that goal against Arsenal today. But Timo Pukki, I mean, scored, was it 28 league goals in the Championship last year? And I was watching the Championship all of last season. He's someone who obviously stood out as a great player, but he didn't seem to have, it just didn't feel like he would have what it took to step up to the Premier League. But I mean, scoring against Liverpool last week and now 3 against Newcastle. Norwich have a real chance of staying up with a player like him in the team. Thomas Gibbons saying, Matt, I have more tactical knowledge than Steve Bruce. I suppose that's fair. Bruce is, it's kind of like the same as, you know, Sam Allardyce, that kind of manager where he just somehow gets points. I mean, there's no tactical side to it. It just happens. I think Newcastle are in a very difficult position. And Thomas, I know you're a Newcastle fan. So what are your kind of thoughts going into the game next week? I doubt you're particularly confident about it. Just when I'm waiting for you to reply. 13th Monkey saying, I'm not convinced with our diamond formation because of our fullback situation, but I believe in Poch 100%. Yeah, it's the diamond. I didn't like it in pre-season, and I didn't think it would be carried into the league, but it has been. Struggle against Villa with it, and maybe it did offer a bit more defensively today, but there wasn't much going forward at all, and 3 shots in the whole game isn't great at all. And Thomas saying we're going to batter Newcastle next week, so we don't need to worry. I see Craig Bowler and Jay Spurs about the penalty. I thought it was a penalty, but they must have thought they were both holding each other. Yeah, when it first happened and I saw him go down, I straight away thought VAR are going to look at that and pull it back. And I was watching Michael Oliver waiting for his hand to go up to his ear, but it didn't. And they did have a look at it because the ball went out of play a few 20-30 seconds later, and Oliver pointed to his ear and said they looked at it and it wasn't a penalty. I was surprised that it wasn't given because looking at the replays, he had his arm right around his neck, and it seemed to be a bit of a trip there as well. It was accidental, but it was there. So I think we were very lucky to get away with that. And I'm sure Guardiola he'll talk about that after the game, but I don't think he can argue about the handball because it struck his hand, and under the new rule, a handball leading to a goal has to be cancelled out. Glenn Hill, welcome to the stream, saying shocking defending. Yeah, it was quite worrying there for a while today, but I think there were some good parts as well. We've only conceded 2 goals away to City. One of the best performances I've seen from them in the time that Guardiola's been there. I thought they were sensational, but there was a lot of chances they missed where they should have done better. That one mainly for Bernardo Silva when kind of played the ball through to him in Dembele and trying to intercept it, took it away from Sanchez and put Bernardo Silva in on goal, and it was a very tame effort from him. There was a lot of luck about it, and the defending at times was poor. Tom saying, do you think you'll beat Arsenal? Arsenal have had a good start to the season. It's going to be a very tough game away to them as well, but if today is anything to go by, we can do anything in any game because we have ground out that with that draw today. 13th Monkey saying I hope so, and Jay Spurs saying the one game we have to win is Arsenal, the one game all year that is a must win. Bradley Coombs saying Ryan Sessegnon is just another Kyle Walker-Peters. I'm not sure that he is. He's played over 100 games already, and he's just 19 years old. He was really poor about he's poor in the Premier League with Fulham last season, but I think he offers a lot more than Walker-Peters because he does have that experience at such a young age, and they are fairly different players. Sessegnon is more attacking, I suppose. JKTT saying I said it was going to be first, but I was trying to watch what Pep said about VAR. Sorry, don't worry about it at all. I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen actually has Guardiola said anything about it in the interview because I imagine he'd be quite frustrated about it. Glenn Hill saying, do you think we could do better if we attacked more rather than trying to contain them? I think today they would have ripped us apart. They would absolutely have ripped us apart because they were so fluid. They were just so together in attack, and the few different phases of play that they had. There's one counter attack I remember seeing from them, and I mean you kind of associate a counter attack with quick, fluid play, players sprinting forward. But I think it was De Bruyne, Aguero, and Sterling. They're almost walking forward, but it somehow ended up being so effective, and I don't know what it is about them, but they just have sheer class. And I think if we had gone out and attacked them, we would have been exposed a lot at the back today. So I think everything that happened today was good, and it's worked out for us in the end. Jay Spurs saying, do you think Poch does not loan our young talent a lot like Kyle Walker-Peters? Spent a long time on the bench most of the games that could have hindered his development. Well, I think I'm saying Germany is a good place for young players to develop. I think Pochettino, I think it was in the book from Guillaume Balaguer about Pochettino where he said he doesn't like to loan players out because they go and they play in a different style of football. And sure, they're developing, they're getting more experience, but Pochettino thinks it's more important to have them in the team and get them playing, like even in training or in the youth games, playing in the same style of play that they're wanted to be utilised in at Tottenham. And I think that is important with the players that he doesn't loan out, looking mainly this season at Troy Parrott. I think that's a good sign for Parrott and his future at the club. Craig Bowler saying Sessegnon will make a great wing back if he changed to a back three, and I think Kyle Walker-Peters will be a lot better as a wing back. That's what I mean about sorting out our centre of the park. Okay, I thought you talked about the centre of midfield. I mean that's something we haven't really spoken about as a potential situation for us this season. Potential formation with 3 at the back. I think because there was so much emphasis kind of put in the full back roles over the summer, that's kind of why we're just looking at the 4 at the back. Now JKTT, Guardiola said deja vu, and if they should have got the penalty in the first half, we're lucky we got away with it. Do you know what, I agree with him. I think it was a penalty. Thomas saying Dani Ceballos is an absolute monster, and I watched him today. He was man of the match for Arsenal. What a beast he is, and you guys might not be able to contain Pepe. He's a monster as well. Yeah, I watched the first half of the Arsenal game today, and Dani Ceballos looked absolutely sensational. He was, and Craig saying as well, he looked great. He looked so comfortable in possession, and no one could get it off him. His passing was good. He was good defensively. He was the player that Arsenal have been crying out for quite a while, really. But I'm not going to say I wish we'd signed him, because I don't. I'd rather have Lo Celso and Dembele permanently than Dani Ceballos on loan and sending him back next year. I saw a thing on, I think it was Twitter, saying sure, Dani Ceballos played well for Arsenal today, but he's only there on work experience. And 13th Mug is saying as well, Ceballos was good. But yeah, I'm not upset. And Jasper saying they've no option to buy. He's going straight back to Real Madrid next year. Very very strange move from Arsenal when they did seem to have the funds to buy a player permanently. But he's going straight back to Real Madrid next year. Morgan is saying Ndombele is better. Great Water, work experience. And it's another one with Arsenal, William Saliba as well, bringing him in and loaning him straight back. It was a very strange strategy from them this window. I don't think they're going to be too powerful, too strong in the league this season, but it would be a great game when we do play them in 2 weeks' time, and I genuinely can't wait to see it. And 13th Monkey saying, work experience, I'm nicking that one. Nick it away, I mean, I nicked it myself. Kyle King saying, let him go to Arsenal. I'm not sure what that's about. JKT Posh said he's in love with VAR. And look, that's the thing, he's in love with it this week, but in 2 weeks' time, it could do the exact opposite for us and we'd hate it again. It's something that our opinions are definitely going to change on over the course of however long it is in use. But look, today we love it. Champions League last season, we loved it until the final. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, we hated it in the final, we loved it in the quarter final, we love it again now. And I know that We Are Tottenham TV live stream a while ago, they were saying, Tottenham fans serenading VAR again. It's worked out for us now, but I can almost guarantee we're going to hate it at some point before the end of the season. Thomas saying, to be honest, I think Arsenal can beat you guys, but I see it being a draw. Bradley saying, think Man City have found their bogey team in Tottenham Hotspur. And I mean, they beat us twice in the league last year, both 1-0 victories. Before that, I know we had another 2-2 draw at the Etihad. We beat them a few times. The last game at White Hart Lane, we beat them 2-0. I know the last time we played them at White Hart Lane, we beat them 2-0. Craig Bowler saying, Arsenal done it with Dennis Suarez last year as well. It's a bit strange. And Dennis Suarez, I think he was in himself a very strange transfer. He just didn't really seem to make it. And I think when he went back to Barcelona, he said he was playing the whole season in pain and making an excuse, I suppose. But it's strange that Arsenal have gone back in, signing another La Liga player on loan who's just going to go straight back. You'd wonder why they're not, maybe even giving the players they have there a chance, but more importantly, they're not going out and buying a player, which I find really strange. DJ Salmon saying Manchester City FC hate VAR. 13th Monkey saying derby games are tough for us. London teams, there are so many of them. Thomas Gibbons saying Tottenham playing Jan Vertonghen right back. Again, the same as Sessegnon. He's a left-footed player in the right back position. It just doesn't work at all. I'd hate to see it happen, and I don't think a left-footed player would be comfortable there. And Jay Spurs as well saying he's left-footed. Now Vertonghen left back is definitely an option. He plays there for Belgium most of the time. The centre backs are usually Alderweireld and company. Mounier on the right and then Vertonghen on the left. So I think Vertonghen, he played there last year against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League, and I was lucky enough to be at that game myself. And up against Jadon Sancho, when the teams came out, I was terrified. I was already terrified of Sancho as it was with the season he had last year. Then we saw Vertonghen playing in left back, and I was really concerned, but he had a fantastic game. I mean, he obviously scored a goal as well, breaking forward from that position. Kai saying predictions for Newcastle. We've already been through it, but I think it's going to be a very comfortable win. Probably 3-4-0. Maybe Newcastle will nick one, we don't know. Louis saying Lamela was the worst player on the pitch minus his goal, which was very lucky. Slowed every counter attack down. Look, that may be true, but I think it's a bit harsh to say it about him when he has scored the goal that has obviously gotten us a point, and he had a very good impact in the game all in all. His pressing is definitely the most important part of his game, and I think he was great. I really enjoyed seeing him today. Bradley saying Eric Dyer right back. Again, it's an option, but I think Eric Dyer, he just doesn't have much pace, and I think he would be exposed quite a bit. Like Dyer in that right back position today, we would have been done. Absolutely done against Raheem Sterling and Alexander Zinchenko. So I don't think Dyer is the best option for right back in the future. Maybe in a 3 at the back he can play the right centre back, but I absolutely wouldn't put him in right back. Thomas saying, so Alderweireld right back. I don't think we can talk about any players going over there. I think that we have 3 decent options over there in Aurier, Walker Peters and Foyt. I don't think we need to put any of our centre backs out there. Certainly not Alderweireld, because he's just so strong in that centre back role. And I mean, he still mightn't be there for the season ahead. Kai saying his son back now. He is served the last game of his suspension today, and we got through it pretty well. I mean, we got the point we needed to get the top 4 against Everton last year, beat Villa, and got a point at Man City. JKTT saying we should sign Sancho next season, but he'd be too much money. And as Jay Spurs says, no chance, he's not coming. I can't see him coming back to England in the future, but it'll be to United or City. I can't see him joining Tottenham at all. Thanks for joining the stream, Thomas. We'll see you next Sunday. Kai saying about Lamela, how was he the worst? He was probably just behind De Bruyne. He was tracking back and starting counters. Rafa saying, I'm so stressed after that match. What a result. I would have taken a draw before the match all day. Right back is a problem. Kyle Walker-Peters review. Yeah, it was Oh, such a tough match to watch because, as I said, for me, when we're playing a team like City, it just always feels like they're going to get that goal at the end, and I mean they did, but thankfully it was ruled out. But it was such a stressful game. It was so nerve wracking, and we're going to have to go through it all again in 2 weeks' time when we play Arsenal. Jay Spurs saying, why can't Eriksen perform at the heights of Kevin De Bruyne? Kevin De Bruyne is on a different level to anyone I've seen in the Premier League in the last 5 or 6 years. He's ridiculous, and I heard Neville today comparing him to Gerrard Lampard's goals, and I fully agree with that. He's on a completely different level, and we can't blame Eriksen for not being on that level. De Bruyne, he's one of the best in the world when he's fit for me. 13th Monkey saying Bet Sonny and Lo Celso were dying to play. Morgan saying if I was Poch I would sign Renato Sanchez. He struggled when he was in the Premier League with Swansea. He's great for Bayern Munich, but I think he really struggled when he was there with Swansea, so I don't know if he would be the best option. And as Louis is saying, don't really need Sanchez when we have Ndombele and Sissoko and Harry Winks, we can't forget. Bradley saying, do you think Sergio Aurier would have started if he was fit? Well, I mean, he is fit. He was on the bench last week. Was he on the bench today? I'm not too sure. He actually wasn't on the bench today, which I didn't really notice, but no, I think Walker Peters was probably the best option today. As I said in my fan voice video earlier in the week, I do think he would be the best. Craig Bowler saying, anyone else think Lamella looks like he's falling over when he runs? He's like Bambi on ice. Yeah, but it works. It works when he's closing down. In possession, he's not the strongest, but I mean that goal that he scored today, it was absolutely genius. And I know, again, Ederson was really out of position, but it was so clever for him to actually spot that and to be able to pick out that corner. It really, really was a fantastic goal from him. And the majority of people are going to say it was Ederson's fault, but it was a really clever finish from Lamella. And as much as you want to criticise him today, as much as you want to give out about how he was, it was a fantastic goal from him. I'm just looking it up here again on YouTube just to have a look at it. It came from absolutely nothing. So obviously we just conceded that goal to Man City. They'd just taken the lead, a deserved lead for sure. But then the goal, if this loads, it's like all the possession we seemed to have was in those defensive positions. We were struggling to get forward, and eventually when we did, it was a bit strange that it came down the centre. It was a good ball from Ndombele into Eric Lamela, but City, they were so compact there. They had the four at the back and the four in midfield, but it was something Lamela does really, really well. He picked up that space in between them. He kind of in between the fours, where in that pocket of space where you don't know if it's a defensive midfield picking him up. And it seems like he very early he spotted that Ederson was out of position. He even has a glance before the pass is made, and he gets the ball, and you can see there's only one thing on his mind. He's getting it onto that left foot, and there's a gap there in between Laporte and Zinchenko where it kind of opened up for him. And looking at Ederson here, his positioning is absolutely horrible. I mean, he's gone for a full dive there. The ball hasn't gotten in the corner, and he's gotten nowhere near it. But just looking back on this goal, you can see Lamela looked. He looked before he ever even got the ball as Ndombele is making the pass, and he knew exactly what he was going to do. And he's not the best player in the world. It wasn't the best performance from him, but that was an absolute moment of genius from Lamela, and it was a really, really good finish to actually pick out that corner. Jay Spurs saying Kane is quite static, no disrespect. Now Kane had Thomas Gibbons saying he's not good. That's absolutely not true. Kane, it was very difficult for him to get the ball in that first half, and it's something about him which I like sometimes and I dislike sometimes. He did it a lot today. He was dropping really deep, trying to pick up possession, and in a game like this, I think it doesn't work for us because there's no one up there to get the ball, and we need him up there to hold up the play when the ball does get there. And Craig saying he hasn't got any pace and isn't great at taking players on. He needs service. Louis saying he's a target man. Hardly expect him to rainbow flick his way to goal, but I think it is a bit disappointing when he does start dropping deep and he starts coming wide to pick up possession, because all of a sudden there's nothing for us in the middle of the park, and you might as well not be doing it because there's nowhere for the ball to go if we do win it back or if we do get it forward. But it's these games where he really struggles, but it's the games against Aston Villa when we need him. When without those 2 goals, we on 2 points now. It would be a very, very different start to the season. GTA Moment saying, how do you think Kyle Walker-Peters coped today? I think he did well. I don't think anyone really won in that battle between him and Sterling, but I think for his first really big challenge, his first time against City, I do think he did quite well, and we can't really blame him for either of the goals. The first one, I know Sterling made that run off his outside shoulder, but I think it was a great run and it was an even better ball, so I don't think we can blame him too much. So all in all, I think he did well, and it was definitely the right decision to start him. 13th Monkey saying, I'm chuffed to bits with a 2-2 draw against the City side at the Etihad. Jay Spurs saying, why do we play balls over the top with Kane up top? He won't reach it. Son can though. Yeah, it's kind of the high balls onto his head or into his body that he needs, but maybe with that too up front, we can't have someone like Lucas or Son running off him, which would make those long balls a lot more beneficial for us. And Craig Bowler saying we can be more direct with Son. So I think it depends on who's around him and where other people are playing, which will decide kind of what the best way to utilise him with those long balls or passing it short and stuff like that. Mako80 saying if the ball's good, Kane will reach it, and he does chase everything down, to be fair, but he just doesn't seem to have that pace. And I know the player he is, he's not going to be particularly quick, but he seems to have lost half a yard since those ankle injuries that he suffered, which is disappointing. But look, he's one of the best strikers in the world, one of the best in the league, and we're very lucky to have him. But that's probably the one part of his game that isn't up there with the best, I suppose. Maybe that's where Aguero could be seen as slightly better than him, because he does have that pace. Louis saying, notice Toby didn't play long balls as much as he usually does, and that's something I noticed as well, but I think it's just because there was no one up there to give the ball to. We had absolutely no width with that diamond in midfield, so we couldn't play those long diagonal balls. And I even noticed a few times when he got possession, he was kind of looking up, he was looking for the pass, he was kind of lining up a long ball, but ended up having to give it to Kyle Walker-Peters or Sanchez. Didn't have many long balls, but again, look, ultimately it worked out for us. We just have to get the point at the Etihad. Now, I'll say it again, if you are enjoying the stream, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out and it gets this video out to more people. So if you are enjoying it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to share it on Twitter or Facebook, please go ahead. Glenn Hill saying Lamella reminds me of Chris Waddle. I was never lucky enough to see Waddle in action, but Craig Bowler saying I actually think Son will make a big difference when he comes back in next week. And I think it is a great game for Son to get back in against Newcastle, because Newcastle defensively aren't that great. Obviously conceded 3 to Norwich today, so I think Son playing back out on that left, he will have a really good day, and it's good to get him back into the team before we do go and play Arsenal at the Emirates the week after that. Now that is all I have time for today in this stream. If you have enjoyed it, again, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I do a lot of these interactive live streams, and I do different videos as well. So if you want more content like this, please hit the subscribe button down below and click that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload or go live. Raf was saying I gotta go, I check in, love your work, appreciate that, Raf. To everyone who has watched, thanks very much for that, I do appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow with a player ratings video, and I'll have another fan voice during the week, and then next week I won't be able to stream after the Newcastle game, but I'll definitely do one beforehand, so please join me for that next week. Thanks for watching.